What is really happening in Russia-occupied territories? Russian propaganda is trying to convince the world that its war against Ukraine is a sacred mission to combat Satanism and defend Christianity. But what is really going on there? The U.S. Department of State and the U.S. Commission on the International Religious Freedom report that Russia is systematically and egregiously persecuting Christians in the territories it occupies in Ukraine. Now, in its report, it states that Russian authorities continue severe religious repression and are using the war in Ukraine to introduce a new or amend existing legal mechanisms to further suppress religious communities and destroy independent society. Just see here. Russian authorities are destroying and closing churches, arresting clergy, and subjecting them to brutal torture. Mission Eurasia reports that detained Christian leaders face horrific torture, including mock executions, threats of rape, electric shocks, and hours of beatings. Priests are accused of spying for the U.S. and extremism. For example, Russian authorities told Alexander Prokopchuk, a deacon of the Pentecostal church in Nova Kakova, "Your church has no right to exist because of its ties to America and other Western countries." He and his 19-year-old son were later found dead in the forest. In occupied Sloviansk, 4 members of the Evangelical Church of the Transfiguration were accused of being American spies after U.S. dollars were found in their pockets. They were subsequently executed by gunfire. These are just a few examples of the lives destroyed by these actions. How many more have been broken? Russia is actively banning all religious groups that do not submit to the Moscow Patriarchate. Evangelical, Christians, Jehovah's Witnesses, Baptists, Pentecostals, and other believers are being mass repressed. They are accused of ties to the West and labeled enemies of the state or American spies simply for refusing to bow down to the Kremlin and the Russian Orthodox Church. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, its troops have been responsible for damaging or destroying at least 660 churches and other religious buildings. What they don't destroy, they close and prohibit for worship. Even ordinary people who attend services face persecution and arrest. In Russia itself, the Russian Orthodox Church has become the state religion, and there is ongoing repression of religious groups and dissenters. Now, Uskurf highlighted the case of Russian Orthodox priest Mikhail Simonov, sentenced to 7 years in prison for allegedly spreading false information about the military. Simonov posted on social media, quote, "By killing children and women, we sing songs on Channel 1. We, Russia, have become godless. Forgive us, Lord." Under the guise of the ROC, the so-called anti-cult organization, Ratseers, has destroyed religion from within, replaced its core values, and brainwashed people. In collaboration with law enforcement and legislators, Ratseers has systematically turned Russia into a nation of repression and persecution. Now, the Yarovoya law, passed in 2016, tightened control over religious activities. Under its cover, anyone who is undesirable is being actively repressed. This is beginning to look like a genocide of believers, disguised with slogans about protecting spirituality and faith. Now, Russia is exporting terror and destruction to all occupied territories. It's clear that the pro-religious Russian organization Ratseers has no plans to stop. In Slovakia and the Czech Republic, There has been a massive media attack on the international movement Allatra, which Ratziers previously branded as a cult and persecuted in Russia. The wave of defamatory articles highlights the significant interest of Ratziers and the Russian Orthodox Church in influencing public opinions in Europe. Given what I've learned about Ratziers' actions and crimes in the territories under their control, I can only say, may God forbid them from bringing those traditional values and the Russian world to Slovakia and other countries. European societies must pay close attention right now to the activities of journalists who have actually published over 400 clearly commissioned defamatory articles and who have clear ties to Russian Ratziers. What does the Russian Orthodox Church want in Slovakia, a country with a diverse array of religious organizations and denominations? We've seen the horrifying consequences of Ratziers' actions. This is a matter of national security. Human rights organizations should sound the alarm before it's too late.